Welcome back. This is Ed Morrissey of HotAir.com, filling in for Hugh today from the ReliefFactor.com studios here in Central Texas. Joining me now is Wesley Smith, Discovery Institute Chair of the Center of Human Exceptionalism at the Wesley J. Smith on Twitter and also at National Review, where he has a great article up talking about Sweden's new response to, I'm using scare quotes here, gender-affirming care for children. Wesley, great to have you back with us, by the way.
Thanks for having me, Ed. Good to talk to you again. Good morning.
Well, it's always good to talk to somebody from the People's Republic of Santa Monica, or, I...
Hey, I'm in Virginia now.
Oh, well, see, you got smart. I'm in Texas now, so there you go. We wised up. Both of us wised up. Let's talk about what the American response is first to gender-affirming care, because, frankly, I've really felt despair over how far off the rails this has actually gone. This used to be a real marginal thing, and now it's suddenly become faddish, and to the extent where we're really doing a tremendous amount of damage to young people that I think are going to be very, very angry in about 10 or 15 years about what the medical establishment here in America has done to them.
Yeah, I think you're going to see a proliferation of lawsuits, and in fact, it's beginning already. There have been a couple filed. Unfortunately, I think we're in the middle of a social panic in this country with regard to this issue, particularly on the left. The Biden administration is insisting that the only approach when a child questions their sex is what's called gender-affirming care. That is, you immediately say, oh, yes, you are the other sex. Okay, yes, we will change your pronouns, social affirmation. Yes, you can wear clothes of the other sex. And then very quickly, often this goes into what's called medical affirmation. I think it's a violation of the Hippocratic Oath. But things such as puberty blocking, meaning preventing natural puberty in children, cross-hormone interventions and so forth, and also surgeries. There was a recent study out of Vanderbilt that said that hundreds of minor girls are given mastectomies every year, and this was back in 2019. It was like 500. I bet now it's 1,000 at least. And the median age, get this, was 16, meaning half of the girls who had their breasts removed were under age 16, and as low as 12. And in rare cases, there are even genital surgeries done on minors. Mostly they wait till they're 18, but it does happen. And this is all experimental, but the American approach in the New England Journal of Medicine, which has become the New England Ideological Journal of Medicine, says, well, this is the only approach, and if you don't do it this way, you're a hater, and it's wrong.
You make the point here, or at least that you quote the New England Journal of Medicine as making a point that mental health treatment for gender dysphoria is equivalent to conversion therapy. They're literally physically converting girls girls and boys into neuters is what they're actually converting them to, while telling them that they're converting them from girls to boys and boys to girls. That, to me, is a much worse type of conversion therapy than just talking through issues. And yet you've got the New England Journal of Medicine who apparently feels that therapy is more damaging than surgery, which is amazing to me. And you're right. I mean, it's completely an ideological point of view here.
And it turns out that the science doesn't back it.
Right.
Certainly the science doesn't back it in the sense of, while it's as settled as gravity, right? Because you now have a lot of Western European countries beginning to really hit the brakes. The United Kingdom has hit the brakes on puberty blocking and surgery, says that the NHS has said, a lot of times these feelings in children are transitory. That's the term they use. France has said there's been an awful explosion of numbers here. We have to be careful. We're hitting the brakes. Finland is hitting the brakes. And most recently, Sweden, their health ministry basically said, we're hitting the brakes. Because, and let me read, this is from the statement of the Swedes. Several factors have pointed toward increased caution in offering hormonal and surgical treatment. Insufficient scientific evidence. A yet-to-be-explained increase in the number of people being diagnosed, especially 13 to 17-year-olds. Less uniform experience-based knowledge among participating experts then in 2015 and the documented prevalence of detransition. They're saying caution. That's the watchword. Be very deliberate. Be very careful. And our country, especially the administration, the Democrat Party with the Equality Act and so forth, are saying full steam ahead. Well, who cares more for children? And let me point out, Sweden, UK, France, Finland, which has done the same thing. They're not Bible Belt countries. These are socially liberal countries. So the idea that somehow it's a hater to want to have real caution when it comes to these children is ridiculous.
We're speaking with Wesley Smith, Discovery Institute Chair of the Center of Human Exceptionalism, as well as a featured writer at National Review Online, and we're talking about his column at NRO right now. And Wesley, why is America so prone to these social panics while apparently Europe seems to be at least a little bit more resistant to them? I'm a little surprised by that, frankly. Maybe I shouldn't be. I mean, I grew up in the 1970s, and we just got done talking about population bomb and all that kind of stuff. And through the satanic preschool era, right, when we had this big social panic about that going on, and all sorts of different social panics. I guess I shouldn't be surprised, but I still am. What is culturally different here than it is in Europe, in Finland, Sweden, and the UK?
I think, I'm not an expert on that answer at all, but it would seem to me that in Europe you have much more of an idea of a communal society, and we're highly individualistic.
Right.
I tend to like that we're highly individualistic, but I think that the highly individualistic nature of the United States has us kind of hell-bent on making sure that whenever an individual wants something, they get it. We've also in this country become more rights-oriented and less responsibilities-oriented. And I think that's also true with regard to children. I mean, this is off the topic a bit, but these drag queens for 5-year-olds shows kind of show something, I think, that we're missing something. We've lost a sense of common sense.
Yep.
That, and I think it's pushed by social media here, which I think is much more contagious here than it is perhaps in Europe.
Well, I think social media is really part of the answer, but I don't think that's off topic at all. I mean, I think that there has been an ongoing effort to sexualize children in the United States, and part of that is being expressed in this transgender social panic, as you put it. The rapid expansion of gender dysphoria among kids is in part because of this campaign of sexualization that's been going on for years and years and years. And I mean, I was talking about this on my video program with Adam Baldwin at Hot Air. About how this goes back decades. I mean, you go back, and this goes back in Europe decades, right? In 1968 in Germany and France, you had these communes that were explicitly about breaking down sexual taboos between adults and children as freeing people from the capitalist model and, being able to transform the next generation into the new socialist person, if you will. This has been something that the hard left has been pursuing for a long time, and I think it's also part of the sort of the effort to undermine objective truth in favor of, and this gets back to your point about individualism, about your own truth, right? Where you're basically the center of the universe, and your feelings are more important than actual facts and biology. This is just the fullest expression of that.
Yeah, let me interrupt just for a quick second. One of the things that really makes this so destructive generally, I'm not just talking about the children issue, is that it is the triumph of the subjective.
Yes.
That whatever I feel inside is right. But feelings are transitory. We always say, well, I feel this, I feel that, instead of I think this, I think that. And I think that makes a very big difference in how we approach life, how we approach problems. We need to get back to thinking. And we also need to get back to the idea of restraint, that we don't have to necessarily do something because it feels good to us at this moment. And I think it's really civilizational destruction here. If everything becomes subjective, then there's no foundation, solid foundation upon which a society can rest and can be built upon, because everything is going to be in a constant churn and a constant hysteria.
And it's interesting in an era where we're constantly demanded to follow the science, right? I mean, that's been the mantra for the last couple of years during the pandemic. You got to follow the science. The science says, science this, science that. We're really almost into a scientism sort of era.
We're well into a scientism era.
Right, you and I have discussed that before. But in the midst of all this scientism, you've got people saying, well, ignore biology, which makes no sense whatsoever, except in the way that you have just expressed it, which is an effort to basically undermine all objective truth, all objective facts, in favor of whatever it is that you're feeling at the moment. The reason why is because feelings are easily manipulated. Facts and science are, well, I don't want to say science. We've seen science manipulated quite a bit, but objective facts resist manipulation, and I think that's the key.
Science, the scientific method, requires give and take and discourse and debate. And what's really happened here, and you saw it with social media particularly, and what Twitter is revealing is really important, is that people who have said, wait a second, we shouldn't be cutting off the breasts of 14-year-old girls, have been silenced on social media. They've been canceled. Because the idea was, well, they're going against the science. Well, when you do things like that, when you stifle scientific discussion and debate, that's anti-science.
We've been speaking with Wesley Smith, Discovery Institute Chair of the Center of Human Exceptionalism. Read his great essay at nationalreview.com on this particular subject. Thank you so much for being with us.